Welcome to the Cleaning Up Business Podcast. My name's Chris Guilfoyle and I'm going to be your host. In every episode, we're hoping to bring you industry leaders from a wide variety of service sectors, disruptors within their industry, and day-to-day entrepreneurs with some business and life lessons for you guys to take away. Let's jump in to today's episode.
You know, a lot of businesses struggle. It didn't work for them. Then you are going to have those problems. And that's it. That is just what's going to happen. That's a big step for anyone in their journey to actually stop becoming an employee and start being an owner. I just had enough. I just went, you know what? It's just not for me.
What should candidates be doing to make themselves stick out to employers?
It's a great question. There is 12 things that I suggest employers do. Secure one of those ongoing contracts that we know that they can't go anywhere else. They have to come to us. Just because someone else has given you advice to say, oh, that would never happen. How do you know? All they can say is no. What are you risking?
Welcome back to the Cleaning Up Business Podcast with me, Chris Guilfoyle. Today, I have another fantastic guest, founder and owner of JCD Recruitment. I have Borhani with me. Louis, thank you for joining us today. Now, I've got a declared interest here. I know Louis and have worked with him for some time. He's a top guy with some really interesting stories. Great founder, great business, and we're going to jump into his business journey today. So, Louis, as always, thank you for coming on the show. I'll go back to the start with all of our guests. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey up to starting JCD Recruitment.
Sure. So I graduated from university in 2009.
Yeah.
We went. So I went to University of Kent. I actually graduated in interior design. Found out very quickly that I was pretty rubbish at it.
Oh,
so
really?
yeah. So I worked, I think, for about 6 months in the design field. And then I picked up a job in the Kent County Council's Property Projects team. I worked for project support for about 3 to 6 months and then got promoted to an assistant project manager. I was the youngest project manager in the team.
What type of projects were they?
They were all capital projects. So
Okay.
they were, so the KCC project team, they would work in education contracts like big new build schools. They'd build community centres. They'd build, they would do all the kind of capital projects around kind of developers. So developers would build housing and then they'd say, all right, we want you to build a community centre. They'd bring us over into the capital projects team to obviously support that journey, making sure the interest of the KCC was...
Did that not fit into your interior design? Or did they not really cross over?
Well, so interesting enough with the design side, things you would learn would be like CAD, you know, so you'd have to do like the layouts and that kind of thing. So you'd there were some skills you would kind of be able to leverage off of. So in the architectural side, it was quite good. Obviously, we didn't have the training on the surveying side or the structural engineering bit, but people in the team in capital projects came from that background as well. So I did that for until about 2012, 2013. Managed lots of multi-million-pound contracts. And then moved into an engineering company in London called Mott MacDonald, which is probably one of the biggest in the world.
Okay.
They're massive. I'd done a multitude of different contracts, including seconded into the FSA to turn it into the FCA.
Right.
That was amazing. That was within about 2 weeks.
For those of us that are idiots, tell us what's the FSA and FCA?
Financial Conduct Authority. So if you don't know them, that's probably a good thing.
Yep.
If you do know them, it's probably a bad thing. But no, that was an amazing contract. I mean, I was literally 2 weeks in the job and I was out the door straight away into this contract. And it kind of set me up with this amazing mindset that, I've taken the greatest job ever. And then I found myself after that contract, all the sunshine and lollipops and all the rainbows, that I was so happy with it. And then came out and the next contract they won was within Southwark Council, and I ended up having to do housing projects, and it was a very different style because I just came out of local authority. I was like, you know what, the red tape, and it is riddled in red tape when you got local authorities. They've got so many layers there. To protect, obviously, but yeah, Southwark Council, similar kind of operation, and I got a bit after doing it for a while and doing quite. I mean, I was on a very large contract; it was a very massive contract. I just got to the point where, you know what, I just felt I loved meeting new people and I loved meeting the new consultancy, practices, and learn their background and how they work, and the project management element I really enjoyed. But the amount of paperwork that you have to do, the amount of reports you write, and I remember going for a meeting with the council, and my reports that they were meant to keep safe and was actually propping up their desk.
Oh, really?
so I was thinking, I'm glad it's got some use then. That was a bit, I think that was it.
Feeds into like, just in local government and sort of buildings because I've worked for local authorities. It's just like the paperwork you have to jump through. It's just for the sake of it, really, isn't it? And obviously, we run private businesses now, and sure, you produce reports and stuff you need, but the stuff you have to jump through and just produce for the sake of it, it's
massive,
pointless, really.
It's because the local authority is quite a risk-averse operation. They have to be able to kind of transfer that risk over. When you're a contractor, you have to take that risk wholeheartedly. Yeah. So they take that very serious. The legal side they take very serious to make sure the contracts are pretty much on you, and that's it. And so realistically, I got to the point after that period of time. So I did that for about 18 months, and I just had enough. I just went, you know what, it's just not for me. So my mum has been in recruitment pretty much all of her career. She was a chef background, and then she moved into a company called Angel Human Resources, but we're kind of trading as Angel Recruitment at the moment. And that's been going since 1965. And they happen to be opening a branch in Kent. Yeah. The time I got to that kind of limit. And I was living in Maidstone at the time because I was working at Kent County Council, and then I moved down and met my wife. My current wife. I say because at the time she was my wife. She was my obviously girlfriend, fiance. But I moved down there, met her. We found a place together, and I was living at Maidstone at the time, which again, commute to London was never great. No. It was just happened to be that kind of right time, right place, right moment. So I thought, all right, well, let's give this recruitment a whack, because I knew people-wise I'd be fine with meeting new people, and I thought I could start that off. I gave it a go. We found an office in Maidstone, like just in St Faith Street, which it was like a tiny little office, like really small. And it was an amazing start because it all happened to be the same year I got married, bought my first house, and started the new career. Busy year. Within 2 months. Yeah. I did it all.
2 months, not even 12 months.
Yeah, it was 2 months, yeah.
So you jumped into Angel. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. Obviously working with family. How was that dynamic? Because obviously I work with family. It can have its ups and certainly can have its downs as well. It's difficult. Yeah. What was that experience like? How did you get into that with that and working with mum?
In all honesty, I find working with her an absolute. I wish more people were like her. She is an absolute inspiration in all senses, and that not just me, just just saying it for the sake of it. What I like working with her about is that her work ethic is what I'd hope I took away with when I, as I kind of grew into my career. Nothing's ever too much. Always a professional face, always courteous, always putting people first, and it's lovely. And that's really, in my opinion, recruitment should always be. It should be being empathetic with the person's journey, understanding, listening, and actually acting on that. So actually working with mum at that moment, I didn't really have that much exposure anyway, but every time I did work with on that side, it was always helpful, great. Information was always good, support was always there. And Angel is very much a family-run business. It's been owned by the same family since it opened in 1965.
Yeah, that's a long time to be running as a business. So obviously you must be doing something right. I suppose the recruitment element is, it's all about, like you say, that interaction with people, isn't it? So you've got to have those skills. So where does Easy Tea Group fit into for everyone on?
Okay, so Easy Tea Group. So I work with Angel. So I'm obviously still there as a sales director. So I got to the point about last year, and it's around about it was probably around Christmas time last year. Yeah, I kind of got to this point where I thought, the direction that we were going as Angel was just not. I just felt it was very disjointed a little bit because we have two business functions. We've got temporary and perm.
Yeah.
Temporary is Angels. Angel is pretty much a 95% temp vehicle. So it's almost like, I suppose it's very similar to you. Obviously, your majority of your business is cleaning, and you have an entity that's drainage. That's and it's a very hard. So I thought what I wanted to do is actually have it, the perm side separated and try to grow it all by itself to give it the time it needs to grow by itself, because it's never been big in Angel. I thought, all right, what I'll do is I'll just take that element out. And I said, look, I'm to the MD, Russell, I said, who's my business partner, I said, this is what the direction I think we need to go in, because and I wanted to create something very unique in Easy T. So Easy T is comprised of two companies. That's probably better to explain that first.
Yeah, go for it.
Easy Talent, which is an in-house RPO recruitment team. They will come in, and for a subscription-based fee a month, they will place a certain amount of people in your operation. And within that, and if you take it the price of, say, for example, an in-house recruiter. An in-house recruiter pretty much will cost you around the 30 grand mark. So that includes holiday pay, national insurance, pension contribution. So 25 to 30K basic salary, depending on what your operation is. Plus you've got to pay that on top. Then on top of that, you've got to pay, obviously, job boards. You've got to pay for a system, a software to track the people in, so you don't lose the candidates. Obviously, you can use the Indeeds and that, but you'll lose the candidates after a period of time. And to be honest, it's no real benefit. You advertise, and then you lose them, then you have to re-advertise again. Yeah, cool. This way, you can keep the candidates' details as long as within your GDPR policies. So I thought I'd create a business model in Easy Talent where that is purely focused on having one lump sum that covers everything. You come in, we come in, we take all that responsibility off of you, and all you've got to do is just say yes or no to candidates.
Run through.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. And so the other side is Easy Technology, which is the ATS and the technology that actually powers it. So Easy Technology is a different company, and Easy Talent, and that comprises Easy T Group.
Right, I've got you. Okay. So you obviously you've adapted that, and that you've got the Easy T Group and Angel, and they feed into each other. What sort of changes have you seen within the recruitment industry specific? I've noticed, obviously, since COVID, that the market has shifted drastically in terms of, and the reason for that, I think people may be stuck with an industry or a job that they were uncertain of because they wasn't really sure, I don't really want to go into that uncertain period where if I'm unemployed or whatever it may be. And I think COVID seemed to push everybody into that, regardless of what they wanted. So obviously people were put on furlough, and I think people have got comfortable with the unknown. So what do I mean by that is, well, Carol, who kept on to her cleaning job, I'll use cleaning because it's what we do. Carol kept her cleaning job because she wasn't really sure if she got rid of it, what the situation would be. But what people realised with COVID was, probably because the government was paying them, but actually I'll be okay. So I'll get through. So what they're now doing is they're a little bit more selective about what roles they pick, in my eyes. How has the recruitment industry changed? Has it shifted drastically? Have you seen that as well?
I think from Brexit, and we only really felt Brexit when COVID. That's the problem. Do
you think COVID masks sort of the Brexit pain as well?
No, I think actually it was a delayed action. Okay. It was always going to be a delayed kind of impact.
Yeah.
So what happened with Brexit is that you've got this from Brexit, we've got from Brexit here to where we are now. Okay. So Brexit, well, basically happened as a delayed impact, and obviously blue collar business predominantly got hit the hardest.
Yeah.
And that's like agriculture, production, manufacturing, cleaning, catering. What will happen? A delayed reaction, and people then started to, as they started to move away, other parts of Europe started saying, "Come over," because now so you started seeing that, and then what happened is then COVID came along, and those people that were in and are in went back home because they were like, "I'm not going to be locked here, not see my family." Sure. They rightly prioritise family over being not seeing them, because so then what happened with COVID, we had this kind of little bit of a bubble where everything was locked away, furlough, so we didn't really see the impact a great deal, but everyone wanted to work. There was a lot of people still on the market wanting work because their normal jobs weren't there. That's why Amazon went boom, and but actually also hospitals were able to find a lot more staff you know, I worked in the hospital side of it. So basically part of Angel Recruitment, we did a load of temp work. So we were able to find a lot of people in that first tranche, that first 3 months of COVID, 3-4 months, where they went absolutely crazy. And the hospital needed staff.
Yep.
We were able to find people, and we had all those people we already had that pivoted and wanted work, went into those kind of businesses. Then what happened is we've then seen this next phase of it, which was when schools opened up properly in the September-y time. And there was still that kind of in-between stage, but that's because a lot of people, they went, you know what, I don't like working like that.
Yeah.
I want to work like this. I want to work this. I mean, the amount of chefs in the market that went become a delivery driver, I mean, because they could work 5 hours a day and make the same amount of money.
Yeah. It just seemed to shake the landscape up, didn't it? So do you think that's settling now? Do you think that's going to, or do you think it will not go back to normal?
See, the thing is, I do think it's settling. Right now, if you put a job up, you've got the same volume of candidates. It was a time where during COVID, you put a job up, you'd get nothing, like literally next to nothing.
Yeah.
Now, you're starting to get those applications in.
Come through.
But the quality of those applications are terrible. Like they are, you know, in terms of proportion, you've got 100 applicants, you're lucky 5% of that is someone you want to interview.
Yeah.
So in actual fact, what's happened is that we are now in the worst, I think personally, the worst bit of it.
Right.
Because people still have the impression that they have the ability to do what they want in the COVID still. That's still in their minds. So they want to work flexibly. They want to work cool. They want to be an influencer. They want to do this. They want to do that. But in actual fact, the real thing is that that's not there. The businesses now don't have that bubble mindset, flexible way. Actually might work for us actually, or we could do that, or we could do that. They realized it didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of businesses struggled. It didn't work for them.
No.
That's why the big tech companies,
they're all
making back.
Yeah.
And they made massive redundancies. Yeah. You know, so even if a tech company can't get complete flexible working right, when a lot of what they do is probably office space and desk space.
Sure.
I'm not saying all of it is, but like there's got to be a large proportion of it is. Then what hope is there for the blue collar market?
Yeah. You know, when you're looking at like a service-based industry like me, like us, and a lot of the people that probably watch this podcast are, at the end of the day, you're delivering a service out on a customer site. So all them benefits that, you know, a lot of business are touting or a lot of employees are requesting, they're just not feasible in the real world. I mean, you know, I can think of specific examples through COVID, even some of the office staff that we had, you know, them working remotely, trying to balance being at home and children being around and things like that. It just didn't work.
Homeschooling. Still have nightmares about it.
Yeah, doesn't everybody? So if you're a candidate, obviously you're a recruitment expert, that's why we've got you on. So if you're a candidate now, obviously, and that market is going back, what should candidates be doing to make themselves stick out to employers and recruiters? What do you look for?
What do we look for? So it's good. It's a great question. As a candidate, what you need to be doing is you need to look and read what is in the job description first and foremost, because you will get a candidate apply for things where they do not meet that criteria. What I like to suggest you do as a candidate is take the job. So if you, for example, have a CV and you know that certain skill sets are not highlighted within your CV, extract out. So do like a little front page on your CV and take out the job description and the responsibilities, put them in a box. And then next to it, explain how you would do it or how you've done it in the past, and showcase a proactive mindset that you say, I haven't done this, but this is what I would do in that circumstance, or I have done that, but in a different way, and this is how I did it. Because what you're doing is you're basically showing someone that you are more than just pressing apply. Yeah, that's the issue. Is that I think just pressing apply now. It just isn't enough. And one thing I'd say to a candidate, answer the bloody phone. Yeah.
It's interesting because we get, you know, we'll ring candidates and they'll go, what job was that? I can't remember. I've applied for so many. You know, or they'll go, oh, can you tell me the hours? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can. But they were in the ad. Oh, them hours don't really suit me. So like you say, just some going down to a small detail as actually understanding the role, paying attention. I mean, it's a little bit probably a little bit different depending on the industry, because the cleaning industry, obviously we can deliver training. Most people are capable of delivering a reasonably good standard within the field. So on the flip side of that, is there something that recruiters, employers should be, how do they aid that process of getting good people in the door? Is there a process that you go through at EZT in terms of your job ads and stuff that you put on there? Explain a little bit about what makes a good job ad and what employers, me as an employer, should be doing to make that process easier with the hope of getting a good candidate through the door.
You'll be pleased to know, yes, there is I've got 12 stages that I suggest. I'm not going to go through all of them, but what I will say is I will send it to you.
Okay.
And then you could maybe put it so the guys can see it. But the idea is that there is 12 things that I suggest employers do, which will generate a organic flow of candidates that are qualified in the roles that you apply for, that will then also be engaged. Because the thing is that it's not, and we've experienced it in Easy Talent. So as a recruiter, we're only as good as when we send you a candidate, and then after that, when they accept the job and they're offered, that's our remit. That we can't do any more than that because we're not in your business to do it. So the thing is, it's not about just kind of attracting the right people. You've got to retain the right people. There's no point creating an amazing quality candidate and they bugger off within a week, 2 weeks, because that puts you right back at square one. So really, there's 12 stages that I kind of look at, which need to be addressed for you to really kind of go to do well. Yeah. The first thing, and I'll start with the first thing because I think it's important, is identify a brief. What is this job? Yeah. What is it for? Where's it meant to fit? Who's it meant to work with? What hours do you need it to do? Is there growth potential? It's like, what do you see this role becoming? Yeah. Is this role going to just be a day-to-day cleaner in operation? Yeah. Or is actually, we know that this person's potentially retiring the next year. It'd be good if we can recruit this person and they have the ambition to then run that contract. So you've got to identify the brief. And that's where my obviously project management background comes into quite handy, is that identify that brief and understand the legit long-term benefits of that role. And once you've done that, you can then design an advert. Yeah. Because then actually, I'm looking for this skill set, this ability, this mindset, that, these job experiences. Once you've got that, you've then got to create an advert that stands out.
How do you do that?
So the thing is,
in a saturated field, like I'm again, going back to the cleaning market, but the service, say blue collar work in general, I've had a look at ads on, Indeed and these other platforms, and they are boring at the end of the day. Is there a way to stand out?
You are the best example of someone that stands out because you actually do videos in the cleaning market. Yeah. I don't know many people that do. So really standing out is doing something that puts you out of the comfort zone and out of that block of norms. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, grab the attention like a rhinoceros headbutting you, but it can be something that's just creative. It's fun. It's, it could be that you create a video on a Facebook group in Maidstone. Say, look, if you've got a job in Maidstone, you've got a job in Southampton, or whatever, do Southampton jobs, and you do a video that actually is going to people say, stop. Come work for me. Yeah,
we've done some. We've tried that. I think it gave mixed results. But yeah, it's just
a talking point.
Do you think? Because I've always contemplated this with our ads, just doing them a little bit more relaxed. What do I mean by that? So, I don't know. Rather than we are searching for a cleaning operative to work 8 till 5, they must be able to do, and then putting down these responsibilities, just making it a little bit more free flowing in terms of the copy. So I don't know, are you the best cleaner in Maidstone? Have you got X, Y, Z skills? And just making it a little bit more punchy. Would you reckon that would be a good approach?
100%.
Do you see that often?
Yeah. No, I don't see it often, but I know it would make an impact. Yeah. I remember having a role that we did a creative advert for. It was quite a senior role at the time, but the thing is that also it brings with it kind of a more high level criteria that you need to meet. Yeah. And we actually had someone who was an incredibly senior operator, and I mean, he ran the the whole operations of a very, very big London-based football club. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And he actually applied for the role and then emailed the recruiter, said, I love that job advert so much I applied for it, and I'm not even looking for a job right now.
Yeah.
But that's why I applied. So the thing is that the idea is that be out there.
Yeah.
Just be out there and do something a bit odd, because why not?
Yeah. I suppose, if you've got realms and realms of boring shit adverts, which most of them are, and to be honest with you, I'm sure if I actually looked at the ads that our team put out, they're probably the same, to be honest. But I've always imagined something like that would really stick out. Would it bring more candidates in? I don't know, but I imagine it would certainly catch people's eye.
So it's not about bringing candidates in, it's about bringing the people that are excited to work with you.
Yeah, I suppose.
So the thing is that if they're already, and this is where it's really important to build your brand, one of the key things of building a brand, for people to know, like, all right, coming through the door, actually, they want to work with you. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean you've got to be doing video content every single week, but you've got to do something that people will be able to find you and say, that company really resonates with me. And that doesn't matter if they're a cleaner, it doesn't matter if they're a production operator, it doesn't matter if they're a software developer. The thing is that your content can be tailored to be enjoyable for all different types of audiences. Yeah. Your destruction of Henry Hoover.
We're doing a part 2, just
but that would be quite entertaining for anyone in the cleaning market. He intended for me, and I thought, so, have that mindset. And I think that if you build your brand, you have a better idea, then people have a better idea of what you're about. Yeah. And then when you do create that kind of odd content or wacky content or something a bit different, they're like, sounds great. Let's give him a go.
Yeah. How important is the onboarding for a company in terms of retention of people, at all levels I'm talking here? Because I think, I use this as sort of to sit down with business owners in relevant fields that are experts in what they do. I probably think our onboarding process could be better. So you could be as generic or specific as you want, but what should a good onboarding process look like for a business in your eyes?
So onboarding.
Yeah. So they've got the employee, they've gone through the recruitment process, and they've got a candidate. You're going to employ me into Easy Talent. Mm-hmm. What does a good onboarding process look like? Because in the cleaning industry, I don't know if it's just because of the nature of the industry, you've alluded to it. We'll get people in and they might last a week or a week and a half, and they go, actually, it's not for me, and they leave. And then you've obviously got to go through all that process again. So what does a good, imagine that first week, what should companies be looking for to onboard someone in a good manner?
So you've already started too late.
Okay, there you go.
So the onboarding starts the moment the job offer's done.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, so let's take a candidate that may have a couple of weeks notice period. Yeah. So you've offered them the job. Between there and they actually physically starting, there's a lot that can happen in those 2 weeks.
Yeah, of course.
So you need to keep that energy up. And that could be welcome pack. It doesn't have to be anything glamorous. It doesn't have to be, an iPad and all that kind of stuff, but it can be something like, their contract with, I don't know, like a cup, or it could be a pen. It could just something that says, well, it could be a handwritten note from you. Yep. Saying, I'm really excited for you to join us. Looking forward to seeing you, seeing you on your first day, or it could be from someone, their manager. Yeah, but between there and then, you've got to do something. You've got to keep that energy going and keep that flow going. And also, I'd probably suggest, some people would bring him in for a meet the team day, or it could be, bring them in to do their induction training, or do their physical, maybe health and safety training, allergen training, whatever training that you do, manual handling. Yep. Bring them in between that time to meet the team, or give them the offer, give them the option to say,
you want to come down to HQs, do training or whatever it may be.
Exactly. Or, maybe any questions or queries you might have with the contract. Encourage that interaction between the start date, between the offer and the start date. Whatever you may do, and it should be variable depending on how long that notice period is, because I tell you what, 4 weeks is massive. Yeah. The amount of candidates now that have been counter-offered by their employer is more than it has ever been. Okay. So that's first thing you do, and I said, that's an onboarding pack. That's making sure the contract's there. That means being present and available and wanting to, and try to encourage meeting them, at some point, even if that just like popping down to see a coffee, just to make sure they're still engaged, after that, so that first day, so that first week literally needs to be a hand-holding exercise in a lot of ways. So it's got to be, you want to gauge their feeling, their emotion. You know, is it what they expected? Is it not what they expected? If it's not what they expected, just say, well, where did you feel this differed from what we spoke about, or what you experienced on your trial? How did it differ? And try to encourage that kind of process. And that can be day one shadowing, could be day two shadowing, it could be day three shadowing. I don't know whatever the role required it, but end of that week, try to have a day one debrief, day 5 debrief. And just, it's all tactile. Yeah. See, onboarding is not necessarily just making sure they got the payrolls, but it's actually that tactile feeling that people feel that they are engaged. And if you don't have the time to do it, make sure you find someone else that does. And that's week one. Yeah. And then generally speaking, if week one they leave and they've got a positive mindset, then the next stage you can slightly break away from it. You want to get to the third month. After people have done 3 months, they're generally settled. Right. So I'd say week one, normal circumstance, week one, do that. Yeah. Handhold, tactile.
Be with them, engaging with them.
Then do a slightly lesser version of that 2, 3, and then fourth week. Fourth week, sit down, formal sit down. Let's have a little chat. How are you getting on? What you're finding difficult? What is there ever support? Any other support you need? Any other training support we can provide? Yeah. Are you still enjoying it? You know, have you noticed anything different? Anything that we can do better? Mm-hmm. You know, so week 1, that's how you do it. Week 4, that's how you do it. Yeah. Week 4, and then generally speaking, I think if they've survived 4 weeks, and you've done it like that, then the third month, as long as you keep a relatively consistent, empathetic, engaged approach, and it doesn't literally mean every day. Yeah, of course. But once a week you touch base from a senior operational side, you have no issues getting to week 3.
I think, you know, a lot of companies, and it goes back to some of the issues that us as a business come across customer-wise. You know, people get employees, and we've just taken over 2 new hotels. The ladies at this hotel are fantastic. They're really good employees. You know, they're team players. The supervisor there, she goes above and beyond. She does all the rota-ins, so all stuff that we wouldn't expect her to do anyway. She does. And when we first took this over, it's hard not to fall in that trap. But we said to her, well, how often do you see your other cleaning company? She said, probably twice a year. Twice a year she speaks to her line of report. Other than that, she's just sort of left to her own devices. And I think we've been guilty of that, and it's something we're trying to improve on to make sure we're having them touch points with team members more regular, because it just makes them feel valued, doesn't it? What you're basically explaining to me there is just a process of making sure they're valued and understanding how they're feeling, how they're operating. Is there ways we can support them, and bits and pieces like that just go a long way with the team, that I think a lot of companies, and probably been guilty of this in the past, don't do because of time constraints. You know, something's come up, or you've got the next contract. So common. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, and then it's rich to say, but you've got to be looking at it from a senior level. You've got to be looking at your operations, and what you're doing is proactive. Yeah. The more you're reactive, the more that stuff's going to happen. You're not going to get to them on time. You're not going to see them. So it's almost like you've got to structure your day. If you are in a position where actually you're spending most of your time is reactive operations, then you are going to have those problems, and that's it. That is just what's going to happen. Yeah. And also you're more stressed on a reactive level. Yeah, of course. Because it's caught you off guard, doesn't it? Oh, exactly. Generally. You're coming out, things coming at you all angles. You're like, well, where do I dodge first? Yeah. You know. So if you're thinking of it from a proactive kind of level, it also puts them at ease because you're calm, you're chilled, you're relaxed, everything seems okay. Yeah. You know, if you come in there and you're all flustered, your hair's all over there, you're sweating profusely, you know, then they're going to be thinking, look at this guy. He's meant to be in charge. Yeah, especially not in a 5-star hotel. They'll think you've got to just come out of the sauna. Yeah. But yeah, it's just look at it from that way. Perception is really important for people. So we'll go back to the recruitment industry, because it's a pretty similar to the cleaning industry in many aspects, because it's relatively low barrier to entry. Lots of people can do it. It doesn't really take much. I've just got to, have the gumption to go out and do some outbound marketing and bits and pieces like that. obviously we've had COVID and that was a big change in the market. How do you see the landscape looking in the next sort of 3 to 5 years in the recruitment market?
I think the next 2-3 years will be quite difficult for a lot of businesses. So what's generally going to happen is when things get more difficult and pennies start being, or persons start being squeezed.
Are you seeing that in the market?
Yeah,
you are.
Yeah, this is the slowest start to any. So obviously a lot of what Angel does. Angel's a great example of it because Angel is operating in very much the catering, the cleaning, the facilities kind of market, which is obviously it's been the slowest start in any year in London.
Okay.
We're
in 2023.
Bar COVID.
Yeah.
COVID obviously was a loose one.
Yeah.
A little bit of a rule to itself.
Anomaly,
a massive anomaly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically I think that definitely the slowest start. Okay. So where things are going to be pivoted is clients are now going to look at, they still have the needs, but they're looking at value offer, what our value you can add. But the thing is that, and this is regardless of recruitment, cleaning, if I was in any business model right now that is a service-led business model, look to secure your contracts. And that could be, let's say, for example, you secure a contract with a Marriott hotel.
Yeah.
Try to encourage that and the security of that hotel contract, but say, if you refer me and get me into another hotel, I will structure a rebate process.
Sure.
So what you're doing is you're saying, this is what we are on right now, and I'm very appreciative, and let's secure that as best we can, whether that be a 2-year contract rather than a 1-year contract, or whatever it is, don't be a rolling contract. So try to encourage your clients that, actually I'd really love to grow in your business models, and we've got operatives in a couple of other sites. Can you put a referral in for me, and I'll structure some kind of rebate deal for yourself and that combined. And so that's and that's where I think that the opportunities are, is that so clients are going to look for a deal now. That's what they're going to do. They're going to look for a deal, but more so they're going to look at it from a wider perspective, and so they're more inclined, I think, just to sign up longer term agreements as long as you're doing a decent job, if they see a return further down the line. Yeah.
So do you think it's still going to, the next couple of years, we're still in for a tough ride when it comes to
for sure. I think so, because, if we just look at what normal happens, is it a recession? Probably not on paper, but in terms of the way people are spending, it is a little bit. People are a little less, and I think especially in the recruitment market, if you're not spending, then recruitment is not going anywhere. And you've seen all the that jobs are going down. The amount of jobs actual on the market is reducing, which obviously last couple of years we've had a bit of a boom.
Yeah,
it's just natural, really. You've got those kind of peaks and troughs. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Are we seeing the market stagnate? I'd say people are definitely a little bit tighter with their money at the moment. Is the business still coming in? Yes. It's just that I'm hearing a lot of people saying it's tough out there at the moment, and sort of, we're still getting bits and pieces coming in the door, and it's fine. But I was just interested to see if you felt that was sort of going to level out over the next couple of years, or if the landscape is going to change drastically. But I suppose it's hard for anyone to tell.
If you're turning this wheel, and this is the service you provide, and you keep going like that and keep going like that, and you're not varying it, and you're not offering anything new, you're going to find it really tough, because business is changing. The recruitment landscape has changed about 74,000 times in the last 2 years. It probably was changed by the time we sat down and I'll get out the door. But what I've noticed is that if you are willing to listen to your clients' problems and adapt to them, and whether that may be, it may be that actually, we go back to the analogy of a hotel, for example, they're actually, they're okay on the room side, but actually what they're finding is particular active usage on their golf course, or like the areas around their golf course. It's something like going there and saying, actually we've noticed that side of it's quite busy. Why don't we add you an extra cleaner during the day to keep that area as spick and span, because we can see you've got big boom on that. You know, being attentive to what's happening around them and their experience, because they're, you know, doing that, then you will find you're okay. You'll find that opportunities will come because you're not just turning the same old wheel and trying to sell snake oil or sell some kind of something that they don't want or they don't necessarily need at that time.
Yeah. It's about being attentive and say, you know, shows you're invested into the contract then, because you're seeing things that maybe they haven't seen, like the example you gave, and it just shows, like you say, you're invested into that contract, which people want at the end of the day. It's not some, well, I've got my cleaners coming in here, they're doing what they do, I'll never go near that contract again. So that's a great point. I always mention on the podcast about being an owner of a business, especially in a market like yours, pretty similar to ours. How do you stay motivated as a CEO when there's so many ups and downs, like you've just mentioned? The market changes all the time. Candidates don't turn up. How do you is there anything you personally do to stay motivated, or are you just secretly pulling your hair out every day?
Get off the ground.
Yeah.
Get off the ground. Work on your business, not in your business.
Yeah, that's a tough one I've been guilty of several times, to be honest.
And that's what...
I seem to get dragged back in by my heels.
I bet you that's when you feel the less motivated.
Yeah, it's true, because, you know, especially when you've been out the business and then you get dragged back in, because you know what fruit it bears when you're, you know, working on it rather than in it, because the sales process is up and down. We spoke about this personally many times, and it's back the other way now, and I've actually found myself a little bit lost with that. But how do you stay motivated and keep yourself out of the operations, or is there times you get dragged back in it?
Always get dragged back in. It's impossible to completely separate yourself. But the more I've just noticed that the more I work in an operational kind of capacity, the more I feel that I'm being pushed down on, and that kind of, you feel that weight on you. And the thing is, as business owners, you've got to kind of build. I suppose it's different. Every business owner is different. I'm quite an entrepreneurial style person. I get that buzz when I meet new clients and see new opportunities and that kind of thing. So if you're that way inclined, and you know if you are, because if you lean towards sales, you are that way inclined. If you lean towards operations, and that's what you tick, then you're the opposite. So don't take my advice on that side. But if you're similar to me and you lean towards the sales, you like the meeting the client side, then focus on working on your business. And it's a very generic term, but what I like to do is I like looking at the business as a whole and saying, right, how do I maximize the growth potential here? And quite frankly, be mindful of how you grow, because organic growth is quite slow.
Yeah, definitely.
Acquisition growth is quite fast. And I also do a lot of reading, like business reading, and I try to socialize myself with as much as possible energetic individuals. Yep. And that's hard to do when you're an owner, because you're so busy, especially if you've then got kids as well. You've got the double whammy. You've got the flat out during the day and then flat out at night. Yeah. And it's tough, but you've got to, if you can't socialize physically with the owners, then do it.
Calls in, checking in.
Check in. Clients sometimes can be quite, I had a client, and I have it, and he's become a good friend. We've been working, off and on for
a long time now.
And now I consider you more of a, as a, not just a client or that, but it's more kind of a friendship kind of relation. And, you find that you're in that kind of bubble. If you can do more of that, you find you enjoy your job a lot more, and actually you're better at it. Stick to your strengths. Yeah. I'm not good in operations anyway.
No, me neither. I like to think I am, but when I get in amongst it, I'll get told, get back out and do what you should do. I ask every guest that comes on, through your business journey, and this it could be any span, is there any particular moment in time or win that really sticks out for you that you remember fondly? Like, is there something, you think, I don't know, several examples have been, when they've won a contract of a particular size. Is there anything that really sticks out for you as a real success?
Can I give two?
Yeah, of course.
From a contract perspective, last year we secured our very first master vend contract, which is essentially a sole agency agreement locked in to an operation that could generate multiple millions of pounds worth of turnover and hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of margin or gross profit. And that was the turning point when I said, because in theory I was talking about it, say, look, I don't want to do it. And recruitment, if you don't know, especially temp recruitment, you start from scratch every month.
Yep.
You have no idea if the person that's going to be working there last week is going to work there next week or the week after that, because the sick person may come back in, or they may recruit the role permanently. You don't know, you know? So, and I kept saying to myself and the other directors, I said, look, the issue we've got is we can't guarantee week in, week out what we're doing. So let's try and get a contract, which is usually reserved for the big boys, Randstad, Reader, Deco, Manpower, you know, those kind of big boys. I said, why don't we try and get one of those? Secure one of those ongoing contracts that we know that they can't go anywhere else. You know, they have to come to us.
Yeah.
And we did it last year. We secured that, and it's gone since September. We're already now looking to extend the contract.
Nice.
So it's gone really well.
Yeah.
And we've just secured a second one, which is amazing. So that's one thing from a business side. But the biggest change in my mind, or biggest momentous change that I've ever had from a personal / business relation was last year when I said, I'm now ready to own a business.
Yeah. And
I took that plunge, and it was that leap of faith to say, you know what, I can do it. I am going to do it. And, you know, and that's a big step for anyone in their journey, to actually stop becoming an employee and start being an owner.
Yeah.
It's then becomes your name on the door, per se. So that was the biggest thing. And since I've made that move, everything in your mind switches, because you then start thinking of things in a much more dynamic way.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could describe it.
Yeah, you've got to think, you know, you're not just thinking of it. So, you know, actually in terms of the role that you operate, you've got to think of it from every commercial aspect of that. It's obviously, you know, that's a big step to take. How was there a lot of thought process behind that? Did it take you a while to take that jump? Because, you know, you see online about, you know, gurus saying, oh, just don't worry, sell all your house, get rid of everything and just go all in on your passion or whatever it is. What was, just tell me a little bit about that process. What actually made you take the jump that's maybe held you, or a reason that you hadn't previously?
Because I did it on my terms.
Yeah.
So I did it in my terms. So a lot of people think that you have to do something in a certain way. Like, you have to start from scratch with nothing. So I took a different approach. I said, in actual fact, I went to my MD at Angel and I said, this is the direction I think we need to take. Let's do it. Let's open the business up together. So, you know, and I've said, right, we're going to leverage off the contracts of Angel that focus on perm, and we're going to move them across into this new vehicle. And we're going to do it by using the perm teams and conning them into here. So you don't have to literally sell the house. You don't have to sell the house. I wouldn't
recommend selling your house.
No, don't sell that. Well, unless you find a better house and it's making you a lot of money. But yeah, the idea, you don't have to do it. But for those that are in a business and are entrepreneurial, there's nothing stopping you going to your boss and saying, and this obviously, if you got to go into a corporate, you can't do it because obviously they may be a public trading entity. But for example, if you're working in a small to medium sized business, why not? And you're an entrepreneur in your mindset, and you see a gap, you see an opportunity, go to your boss and say, you know what? Actually, I reckon there's this gap here, and I'd like to do it. And I will give you the energy, I will give you the enthusiasm, and I will drive it forward. Can we do it together?
Yeah.
And then they will say, they won't say sod off, or they'll say, but if they say yes, you've got yourself a starting point that's about 5 steps ahead from the person that actually then sold the house and started their business from scratch. You know, you've got a much more enjoyable journey ahead of you. And once you realise that you're only speaking to another person, and if they see sense in it, they'll do it with you, then so much more is available to you. You know, just have that mindset. Just because someone else has given you advice to say, oh, that would never happen. How do you know? All they can say is no.
Yeah.
What are you risking?
I think that's a great piece of advice. So what's in the future for you and Easy Talent?
So similar to what we've, in the context of what I just said. So I'm looking at now trying to grow the business, not organically, but from a mergers and acquisitions side. So where I feel there's a real gap at the moment is there's a lot of really good businesses out there, recruitment businesses that are usually kind of one or two kind of people operations, or maybe a bit more than that. And, you know, they offer real great personal service, really local, really kind of focus on that side of it. And I believe that, you know, a consolidated approach with a centralized vehicle in a group kind of structure may be the best way forward. And it will give clients a better service, because as each business evolves, it can learn from each other. What I've learned so much is recruiters, and I don't know about the cleaning industry, but recruitment companies very rarely share advice and guidance and help. Which
it's odd, really, because, you know, the answer to your question is no, they don't really. And like, especially at a lower level, you know, I've got a cleaning company next door to us around the corner there, and I've never ever seen them. But I'm sure if I went around there and spoke with them about business, they'd probably be quiet. I don't know, the shutters would be up, should we say. But we all really know what's going on within the market, each other's business. We know really generally what we're charging in terms of charge rates, and they're a million miles away, and we should share information more.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that, you know, maybe not a direct competitor, but if you spoke to a cleaning company similar size in Yorkshire, you know, just to compare P&Ls to a degree and say, look, and he goes, bloody hell, what are you spending that much for?
What are you doing there?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, you know, actually, I know this person that works in that supply chain, and he may be able to get you a better deal, you know, for that product that you're using. And the thing is, what I'm just looking at is I want to change the context in the recruitment space, and temp and perm, by the way. This is, you know, on both sides, and try to build a unity approach, which will actually benefit the clients long term, because it's no point working in isolation.
No.
You know, what we've learned in COVID is it's hard by yourself. If you worked as a group, as an entity, you share support. So that's what I'd like to do moving forward. And the best thing about it is that because we own our tech, we can make massive savings for a lot of companies that are spending tens of thousands of pounds on technology and just not really getting much for it.
What would you look for if you were looking to acquire another business? You know, is there particular something you'd look for within the recruitment field?
Oh, it varies massively, because the thing is, it's how it leverages and, you know, and kind of molds into the group as a whole. It doesn't mean that any business will work. In the temporary market, you've got to kind of, your temporary pool is limited from a geographical perspective. If I've got a cleaner in Maidstone, that cleaner in Maidstone is not going to be a valuable asset to someone in a contract in Southampton.
No, of course.
So you've got to, you're limited by your geographical spread. But the thing is, saying that though, it doesn't mean that you can't get to the Southampton route, but it should be gradual.
Yeah.
And then get to the point where it's obviously functioning nicely as a group and making a decision either to sell the group or continue going, you know, wherever the value is. Yeah. So, but that's kind of where I want to go to.
Well, but hopefully you've got a long way out to that yet, because you're only young. Well, I think that wraps up things nicely. Louis, tell the guys on the camera where they can find you on your socials, websites for Easy Talent.
Yeah, sure. So if you are interested and want to kind of find out what we do, it's www.easytgroup.com. I will also be starting to create video content shortly.
And that's what we like to hear.
With 12 and break down those 12 steps. So I'm actually getting recorded next week to do that. Yeah. Perfect. So and they will be in the Knowledge Hub, which will be free for everyone.
On your website.
On the website, and they will be on YouTube, and I'll be doing snippets on LinkedIn as well. So, but obviously if you need to I'm on LinkedIn as well. So just look for Louis Borhani on LinkedIn. Get in touch.
Perfect. Louis, thank you for coming down and spending an hour with us talking all things recruitment. As always, that wraps up this episode. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Head over to your favorite podcast platforms. Make sure you leave us a review and subscribe on your preferred platform for us. That really helps out. That wraps up this episode, guys, and we will see you on the next one.